Hello guys, Dan here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we will continue our mini series when I use these Vallejo painting guides and follow the guide inside to paint this Fusilier. And we are almost close to the end. This is second to last video. So let's not waste any more time and let's start. Step 1. Armour. The color dark Prussian blue is applied in 4 or 5 very fine layers, allowing each layer to dry thoroughly to achieve a very uniform base coat. As we can see here, they didn't mention, but they primed the miniature black first, and then they primed the dark Prussian blue after that. So I already did this step off camera just to save some time. This was pretty straightforward step, so just prime everything and get the even coat all around the miniature so you don't see any black or metallic parts. So for the step 2, they say with a mixture of 70% dark Prussian blue and 30% of the green blue, the first highlights are applied to the armor on particularly the entire surface except for the most recessed areas. I mixed these paints on my wet palette, and actually what they want us from here is to cover almost whole areas of the armor, only leave the recesses as shadows. So this is very straightforward step as well, very easy. So I just went all around the mini, and all these blue armor panels I just painted them with this paint. Step 3. For a second application of highlights, the color white is added to this mixture in a proportion of 20%. These highlights are applied in the same places as in step 1, but this time reduced in area. I mixed the color on my wet palette as advised, so I just added one drop of white to the mix, and I got this slightly brighter blue color. So I will do as advised. I will go around the mini, and I will do the same highlight on all the armor panels, but I will cover less area than before. And I will try to avoid going into the recesses and try not to paint too much of this paint into the shadow areas. This is the result after this step. So I went a couple of times, I just did the couple of highlights and left all the shadows intact. I didn't touch any recesses. But before we go to the next step, we can see that in this step they used the black and they repainted all the rest of the model that is not the blue armor. So I will do that as well now. I just used the black paint that came in the box. I put it on the wet palette and added 1 or 2 drops of water so it started flowing smoothly from my brush. And then I repainted all the parts that are not the blue armor, and in some cases I have to go in 2 very thin coats to have a good black color on top of it. Step 4. Before continuing with the highlights of the armor, a mixture of dark Prussian blue and white is prepared to define the metal plates. For this stage, a fine brush is needed. I got a little confused here because what they did on the picture is they painted all the recesses with a darker color. And what they ask for us here is to mix white in the base color of blue to make a brighter color. so it's quite not possible to make the shadow with a brighter color. Luckily, I have Angel Higueralde's masterclass book, which contains these steps inside, so I double checked in the book, and actually you're supposed to mix dark Prussian blue with the black in this step. So that is what we are actually going to do. We will mix a dark Prussian blue with the black, and then we will paint these recesses. I have been asked so many times which brushes I'm using, so I'm using Artis Opus size 1 or size 0 usually. So what we need to do in this step is actually to create the shadows. So we will go inside the recesses this time because we won't actually use the wash. Angel Giraldes usually paint all the shadows with his brush. So that's what we're going to do. We will go around the model, and every recess we will just enhance it with this color. See, this is really giving a dimension to the armor and giving it a good definition. Only trick here is to have a really precise brush that can go inside the recesses. When all the plates of armor have been profiled, the color mix of step 3 is used to paint all the ridges in order to obtain a better definition between them. So what we need to do here is to go back to the step 3 when we already mixed the dark Prussian blue with the green blue and added a little white. So actually it's the same color from before that we used for the highlights, but they want us actually to go and now if you did any mistakes and you made these lines too thick, just to correct them and make a definition between the shadow and your first highlight, so that the shadows will pop even more and will look even better. As you can see, after this step the armor is almost completed. It is well defined now, so we'll proceed to the next step and finish highlighting this. 6. With the addition of more white to the mixture of step 4, highlights are applied to the ridges and areas of the armor in order to achieve a bright and metallic effect. In this step actually they want us to add more white and start edge highlighting the armor. So this is what I'll do. I will switch to my smaller brush and I will just start highlighting the edges and all the connections when two armor panels are touching each other, and then I will go all around and try to do every single one of them. This is the end of this step and how I did these highlights. And I'm actually really happy how the model looks like after this step, because this armor now looks really nice. Step 7. Lastly, a wash with dark Prussian blue is applied to the armor to achieve more contrast. I had to consult the book again for this step, because if I read like this, it looks to me that I have to wash the whole armor, but if I wash everything, then we will ruin all the highlights and we won't achieve anything that we did before. Actually, what we have to do here is to apply the wash in the darkest areas of the armor panels, just to create even more contrast. So don't wash your highlighted areas, you will go around and wash your shadow areas on the model. Step 8. White plates. Dark gray is applied as a base color. So as we can see, this is a really simple step. So we'll just paint the rest of these armor panels that are supposed to be white with this dark gray color. Step 9. The color white is added little by little to highlight the plates, looking to achieve a contrast between light and shadow. So what we need to do here is start highlighting these armor panels. So first what I did is I mixed a little white, then I painted like almost whole area of these panels, but leaving the shadows and the recesses intact. Then I added a little more white and then I painted less area. Then I added a little more white and I did only like edges, but very thick edges. And at the last step I used mostly pure white and I just did the edge highlight. So you will have to do like in 3 or 4 very thin passes to highlight all the light areas. As we can see, there's not that many of the white panels here, so this went pretty quick. Step 10. Pants. The pants have 2 parts. The base color is painted on each. For the outside of the pants, chocolate brown is used, and for the inside, the color flat earth. This is pretty straightforward step because the pants are sculpted really well, so you can easily define where is the half. So I followed the guide and I painted the outer half of the pants with the chocolate brown and the other inner part with the flat earth. I just put these colors on my wet palette and I added a few drops of water so they flow better from my brush, and I just painted them in 2 very thin coats to be able to get a good coverage over the black surface. As you can see, I used the same color to base paint his hair as well. Step 11. A wash is prepared with a mixture of 50% black and 50% chocolate brown and applied all over the pants in order to obtain a clear definition of both parts. I mixed on my wet palette 50% black with 50% of chocolate brown, and I added few drops of water, actually more than few, until I got a good flow of the wash. And then I went on the model and I washed everything to create the shadows. Step 12. The first highlights are applied to the interior of the pants with the color Old Wood. As we can see on the picture, they mostly covered the whole area with this color, but they left all the recesses in the shadows. So this is exactly the thing I will do now. I put this color on my wet palette and added a drop of water so it flows good from my brush. And then I went around on the inner parts of the pants and I covered 90% of it while only leaving the recesses in the shadows. And I have to add that this color is a little transparent, so I had to do like two very thin passes to have a good coverage. Step 13. The color white is added to the previous color for the application of highlights, and finally shadows are applied in the wrinkles with the color Flat Earth. So in this step they want us to make the highlights and the shadows. So first I will work on the highlights. So I mixed a little of white in the previous color, and then I went over the inner parts of the pants and I highlighted only like the most raised areas and the folds of the pants. And for the shadows, they want us to go back to our base color of the pants, which is Flat Earth, and just paint inside the wrinkles, just in case you made some mistakes or you went inside the recesses. So just go back with this color and just enhance the shadows. Step 14. Highlights are added on the outside of the pants with Flat Earth. Since we already have this paint out for the previous shadows on the inner parts, this color is actually more lighter than the chocolate brown, so they want us to use the same color to highlight the outer sides of the pants. So we will actually repeat the same process as we did on the inner side. We will go around and highlight the most areas of the outer parts of the pants, just leaving all the recesses intact. So we will highlight the most raised areas and the top of the folds of the pants. And I used this color to highlight all the leather straps that he have for his backpack, holster and the knife. I highlight them by using the tip of my brush and drawing little streaks and little lines in the various directions, just to simulate like a worn effect of the leather. Finally, the last highlights are applied to the pants with a small amount of old wood. So they want us here to use the old wood as our final highlight. I will do the same as I did on the other parts of the pants. So I will highlight only the most raised areas of the folds of the pants, and on these leather straps I'll just put even smaller streaks than I did before. Step 16. Gun Fusil. The first highlights are applied on the base color black with dark gray. Fusil is a Spanish word for gun, so now we know what they call fusiliers. That's very interesting. So what I'm going to do here is to use the dark gray and start edge highlighting the gun, but I won't be very thin with the lines. I will do like something in between, like a thicker lines, to create one level of shadows. So wherever it's possible, I will use the side of my brush and just pull it on the edge to create the lines. And I will use same technique to highlight his visor and handgun and the knife that he have strapped on his leg. Step 17. Dark Prussian blue is applied to the magazine to give it a different aspect. I double checked in the book again, and actually this is supposed to be done more as a wash than actually to apply it as a pure color, because you don't want to cover the previous highlight that was done with the gray under it. You still want to leave it as a brighter bluish highlight. Step 18. The color white is applied as a highlight to the gun and to the magazine to create augmented effect of gloss. So this will be our final highlight, and we will use an edge of the brush and try to do the edge highlighting, but we won't do the complete lines. We will cut these lines on some spots just to create reflections. As we are already used to this, the guide will end up here, so there won't be any explanation how to paint the skin and the rest of the details. But anyway, I will show it to you. The thing is, Angel Giraldes make his masterclass book, which contains all these steps in the more detailed level. First, I will paint the red LEDs. I will use Evil Sunz Scarlet and paint them red. If you wanna use Vallejo equivalent, it's called Scarlet Red. To finalize the highlights on the red LEDs, I will use orange fire, and I will just place one dot in the middle of this LED, or if you want you can place it in the upper left or right corner. And finally, for the skin, we will use Bugmans Glow. If you want to use a Vallejo equivalent, there is a paint called Skin Tone, which will be perfect for this. I will just cover all the skin on his head with the two very thin coats, because we are painting over the black and this color is transparent, so it will be required to paint in two thin coats to have a good tone of this color. Then I created a little wash with the flat earth that I already have on my wet palette, and I just washed the whole skin on his head. Then after the wash has been dried, I added a white to Bugmans Glow to create my final highlight, and just went on the face and highlight the most raised areas, ears, nose, cheeks, forehead, but I left all the recesses still in the shadows. And that's it, guys, this model is done. I will transfer him to the base that I pre-made before. If you're interested how I did it, there will be a link included in the description below, so you can just look at it and copy the things I did. So what can I say about this guide? So far this was the guide which have the most steps. I think there was 18 steps in this guide, but a big amount of the guide is focused on the central point of these models, which is the blue armor. And I have to say that the guide was really detailed, really easy to follow, with a few mistakes here and there that they made while trying to adjust this guide from the book, in which was done in more details, to this shorter version in this guide. But all in all, as I can see here, you can paint the almost whole Panoceania army following this instruction here. You will have to add just a few colors for the skin and the face, and then when it comes to painting the knights, you will just have to buy maybe one more red, and for the other guys that have green of them, you will just have to add that color. But all in all, it's a very good guide, and it's advisable to have it if you are starting your Panoceania army. I think this will be a good buy. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It will really help this channel grow and grow this community. And if you have any comments and suggestions, if you like to see me painting something else, please leave a comment in the section below, and I will try to do my best to reply. So this is all for now, guys. Stay safe, take care, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.